Welcome
Yes.
to Close Watch, now a proud member of the Odd Pods Media Network. This is a show where we get to know our guests through the movies they love. I'm your host, Robert Yaniz Jr., and this is episode 34. I'm rushing through this because we have a lot to cover today. As always, you can find more episodes of this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, and other podcatchers, as well as crookedtable.com. Ratings and reviews are always appreciated. Today, we are doing the culmination of our weeks-long run through the Yellow Brick Road, the Land of Oz, whatever reference to the L. Frank Baum or Gregory Maguire books I can come up with, talking about The Wizard of Oz, Journey Back to Oz, The Wiz, Return to Oz, Oz the Great and Powerful, and now finally Wicked for Good from 2025. And I was trying to think of whatever the Ozians say for celebrate. I know that's congratulations to you all for
Thank
being
you.
here today. It's when you see congratulations on a banner too that I'm like, wow, they're really committing to that.
I lost count of how many little Ozian configurations of words they have. I'm not even gonna try to count these. Y'all just say it however you want to, and I'm here.
There's because I'm on, obviously I've been fully wicked pilled, which we'll get into in a minute. I'm in a couple of like wicked Facebook groups, and people are like already being like, so how many times do they say clock tick? Because it feels like it's like 20. I think
Like
it's more like 6,
5 or 6.
but
Yeah,
it's like
5 or 6
mostly in the first half hour.
that was somewhere at the beginning of it when they were doing it. I was like, oh God, John, I'm gonna be doing this for the next 2.5 hours. Okay, good, you're not.
Yeah. It's like 4 or 5 in a row, and then they like sprinkle a couple throughout. But to commemorate the release of Wicked for Good, obviously the end of this run on Close Watch, I have compiled a several companions. This is my own personal Cowardly Lion, Tin Man, and Scarecrow. You argue amongst yourselves. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Oh my God.
to start things off, um, can everybody go around and introduce yourself and share a favorite song, song lyric, or a character beat from the film? If you want to sing, please go for it. Also, what was your experience with the world of Wicked before watching this new movie? Let's start with Ashley.
Of course, you're gonna call on me.
Well, you're fully
It
dressed for the occasion. You
I
have
mean, it
like
is good to
the
see me,
tiara.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm obsessulated. So, I'm known on the interwebs as famous Ashley Grant, and Reader's Digest version about me is I'm a content creator, but that's like way too vague. So we'll just say that I do a lot of different things online and I get paid for it. But my favorite song is Defying Gravity, and I mean a close second is For Good, but Defying Gravity really resonated with me long before I even saw the musical, and it's why I wanted to go see the musical. And I feel like it kind of resonates with me because I love the series Firefly and the saying "keep flying." So Defying Gravity is all about being unlimited and keep flying. So that's mine.
And so to clarify, you saw the musical years before either of the movies, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. I saw it actually in Tampa, Florida, whenever it was the off-Broadway touring production.
Nice.
And I fell in love with it, and I was like, as soon as possible, I got to get to New York and see it. And then in 2023, I finally got to go to the Gershwin and see it in the Gershwin, and I'm just still so in love with all of us.
Yeah. And we talked about your affinity for the Wizard of Oz film itself on that episode at length, so people could check that out. Will, why don't you go next?
Hey, so I am Will Ashton. I am the co-host of Cinemaholics, which it's a podcast I do with Jon and Grande. We've been talking about the newest films for I don't know, 8 years now. I don't know. Time is a funny thing. Yeah, I was trying to think about my favorite. I mean, I feel like everyone is going to be at least tempted to say Defying Gravity is their favorite song from the musical, and I mean, I think for a good reason, because it's the Wicked song. But I will say that I didn't really have much relationship to Wicked as I did to The Wizard of Oz, and I know that the main reason I was brought on for our Journey Back to Oz discussion was because The Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite films. I've seen it countless times. I love that movie so much, and yeah, it was kind of funny. I never really had. I'd never read the book for Wicked. I never saw the play or anything. So when I saw the original film last year and then this one, I went in not really knowing what to expect, and I think that might inform my opinions on both films when we discuss them.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin?
Yeah. All right. So I guess I will be the wizard on this because I am unseen behind the screen somewhere. Uh, I am my name is Kevin Thomas. I go by Kevin the Critic everywhere online. I my favorite songs from it would probably be, oh man, the first half would probably uh Popular, What Is This Feeling, or Dancing Through Life. And my favorite one in this one would probably be the No Good Deed song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That would be my pick too, I
yeah,
think,
and then
from this film.
my exposure to Wicked before these movies was so I also grew up watching Wizard of Oz a bunch. I had the VHS ever since I was a little kid. I watched little making of documentary with Angela Lansbury at the end of it endlessly. I really got into I really fell in love with movies partially through that movie. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is my parents' wedding song, and they are still happily married today. But yeah, Wizard of Oz means a lot me, and I remember seeing Oz Great and Powerful in 2011 in theaters with my mom and my sister, and me going, that was all right, and them going, yeah, that kind of sucked, but it's over now. So yeah, Wizard of Oz means a lot to me. The first time I saw Wicked was at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. I distinctly remember I run a blog, critic.com, and you can find most of my mid reviews of movies and all that. My review for Wicked, the play is no longer up. It's lost to time. But my parents got us tickets to go see Wicked, and I was adamant, it starts at 9 o'clock. It gets out at 11:30. It's been out for 7 years. I'm not reviewing this. And then I get out and we get to our hotel at midnight, and I start rapidly writing an extremely positive review on hotel note cards that was published at a later point. And unfortunately lost the time. But yeah, I saw that. I saw the play there. Then I saw the first part last year. It was my favorite movie of last year. And this one also falls on my list somewhere of favorites of the year. It does not top it, but it is on there.
It's in the conversation. Yeah. For me, my thing is my situation is kind of unique, and because these two movies were based on the same musicals, Act One and Act Two. Saw Wicked last year, relatively blind. Like, I knew Defying Gravity and Popular and For Good because they'd done them on Glee, which I watched at the time, and then saw the musical on Broadway in March, and then went into this with all the hype and knowing everything, and with the musical theater expectations onto it, which was a weird. It's like walking out of a movie halfway through, and then a year, then getting all the backstory and then walking back into it, but like, all right, let's finish this up. So that was a strange experience, but I think one that was really unique in that way. What I really think is interesting about these two movies is that, director John Chu was talking about through the whole legendary press tour for the first film about, well, the first movie is about choices, and then when we get to For Good, we're going to be dealing with all the consequences. For all of you, do you think that is sort of a fair assessment of the two movies? And which character do you think faced the most surprising moments of self-reflection? Because obviously reflection is a huge theme here, whether it's literal, Glinda seeing her reflection in the bubble, or it's just everyone kind of coming to terms with where they've ended up. Anybody jump in?
So for me, I think that, I think that's actually a spot on assessment from him. Like I think the first one is very much about what choices do the characters make or not make in terms of interpersonal relationships or standing up for things they believe in, or like, do I put myself out? Do I put my status out on the line, even if it might be right? If I do, like, am I scared to do that? And this one is about, yeah, it's about saying, okay, everybody made their choices in the first one. Now, what are the repercussions of that? And I say repercussions because I think the second one is it it takes a dark direction down with it. Like a lot of the when I think which I think is very appropriate, because like all the decisions that the characters made, big and small, have consequences that they never thought about or never could have foreseen. And I think this one in particular does a really good job of nailing that idea in. Like, oh, you said something or didn't say something, or chose to be with a person, or chose to stay here because it was where you've been your whole life. It's like, okay, everybody has to deal with, okay, where are we now? 5 years
Mm,
later,
yeah.
where are we now? So yeah, I think his assessment of it being like part one is about the choices and the consequences of those is very, very astute from him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think what really struck me was when Nessa rose towards the end of The Wicked Witch of the East. I guess we should establish full spoilers for this whole
Yeah,
conversation.
spoilers for the entire thing.
Yeah, I was
In
Before
case
we,
you hadn't noticed that.
yeah, I'll put that on the post and everything,
I was gonna
obviously.
say, yeah,
Uh,
I figured we were spoilers, but I didn't want to
yes,
like
yes, for
break that
sure.
bubble, as it were.
For
No pun
sure.
intended.
Nice. No, the pun was intended, Will.
Yeah.
It's towards the end when she's like, "We deserve each other," and it's like the refrain of that in a completely different context than in the beginning, where she's talking about "We deserve each other," me and Bach, to Elphaba during Dancing Through Life. That was the moment that probably stood out for me. Ashley, any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I kind of feel like saying that part one was choices and part two is consequences, to me it simplifies what's happening in both films, because though we do make a lot of choices in part one, we're continuing to make choices in part two. I mean, we even see that whenever Elphaba has kind of second guessed herself and she's considering actually going to the dark side, as it were, to be with Glinda and the wizard, but then she steps back and is like, whoa, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm getting caught up in the hype. And so I feel like it simplifies it just a little too much for me to say that one is choices, one is consequences, because it kind of glosses over all the nuances of daily life and how every single thing we do continues to be a actions and consequences thing. And for me, when I first sat down to consider these questions, because you were so kind to send them ahead of time, I was really debating about which person I thought faced the most surprising moments of self-reflection. And as I thought about it, I was actually stunned by my answer, and it's Fiyero. I
Mm.
wasn't expecting that to be the answer that came to the surface for me, but for me it was, because in the first movie he's dancing through life. He couldn't care less. He has no care in the world. And then we see that he kind of grows up and has to really face everything that is in front of him. And so for me, the biggest change was him.
I love the last moment that we get with Jonathan Bailey as Jonathan Bailey. That
Yeah.
moment with him and Glinda before he's taken away, where that's one of several points in the movie where I get emotional because the characters are at such an emotional
Ye-
crossroads.
Yeah, I was, and I realized I forgot to answer that part of the question, like who goes through the most change completely. And yeah, I would say either Glinda or him, leaning more towards him, and because as you said, Ashley, because of the where we see him where he starts in part one, I think that song is one of the best like character establishment songs I've seen in basically anything. And the way that we see his arc play out over the two movies is really, really well done. And we get why he changes and how he's affected by everything. Yeah, I would definitely say him, because like you start out looking like Jonathan Bailey and you end looking like the Scarecrow and Ryan Reynolds at the
Like
end
a
as a
Ryan Reynolds thing.
police.
Yeah, I remember
Like
seeing
I
that.
didn't see that. Like I don't see that personally, but I've seen so many people make the
I
comparison.
mean,
I'm like, why? Like he was the only Ryan Reynolds to get that. Like it's Deadpool adjacent in that he went from a hot guy to a scarred face
Nutsack.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Nice.
guess.
I
but yeah,
mean,
I
Sorry.
don't. No, no, yeah, I was trying to be nice, but yeah, like, yeah, I don't see the comparison between the two, other like for a joke. But yeah, I think he goes through the most change in terms of just, like where he stands, and also just you know how he ends up. Like physically, he's the most changed by all of it.
Right. Well,
I mean, Jonathan Bailey was just nominated, or sorry, he just won People's Sexiest Man Alive distinction, and I believe Ryan Reynolds won another year. So if you
yeah,
think
it's
about
Yeah,
it
I
in
think
that
he
respect,
did.
he just
Yes.
became a different Sexy Man Alive in that. Uh, he just
Yeah.
morphed, into a different one. But
Yeah.
that's to say nothing on either gentleman as far as their physical appearances go. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really know to what extent the second act was going to inform the first one when I saw the first movie. And one thing that surprised me, because I knew it was a part one, obviously it says it in the title card, and then I knew going into it that it was going to be a two-part thing. Uh, the thing that surprised me with the first one is that it felt fairly contained. Like you see
yeah,
a full
yeah.
arc for Cynthia Erivo's character, and it felt, like you see her become, self-empowered and kind of overcome these obstacles and stuff, and so the idea of like it being, the setup to it, I guess, is accurate in a respect, but it to me it was kind of fascinating how much this was its own kind of thing, but also very much a part two. Like it doesn't feel like this movie to me stands out as much on its own compared to the first one, and obviously it's a sequel, so that's somewhat to be expected. But I mean, I do feel like it is kind of an odd to kind of look at yin yang as far as that respect goes. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to also echo the idea of going into this, I had no, I mean, I knew because I was spoiled about the Tin Man arc,
Mm.
and the
Mhm.
beginning of the first movie lets it known that the wizard is going to be the father, and I remember that from the first movie, so I was like, that wasn't that big of a bombshell, but it was kind of it's kind of surprising because I had forgotten about that when I saw this movie. But yeah, I mean, the whole, yeah, sorry, good.
And I was gonna say, and then the wonky CG Goldblum face, that
Yeah, that
surprised me.
was.
Oh.
I physically recoiled when I saw.
That's like the
I-
only moment of the visuals in here was like, really, all the money you guys have, and that's what we're doing.
yeah, I wasn't really. I I I had a little bit of a reaction to that. Like, it looked good. Like, I thought the effect looked fine. But I started laughing thinking about old Jeff Goldblum in that outfit dancing like that. And then the only other moment where the effects got me like, was like, there's an early moment where she's like, where Elphaba is like flying above the ground, or like it's the sky's behind her. And I was like, you spent how much money? And there's a clear green screen behind her. Like, it's not a big thing. It was like, oh wow, nothing else in the movie looks like that. But yeah, the Jeff Goldblum thing, I it was a shock, but I also had to keep myself from chuckling a little bit. I'm like, oh, he still looks old 30 years ago. That's huh.
Well, did you have any other
Oh,
thoughts on that?
I was just gonna echo. I feel like Jonathan Bailey is the one that goes through the biggest journey, because I had no idea that was gonna even happen. Like, I knew obviously the Scarecrow is gonna factor into it, but not in that respect. So that was a genuine surprise for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the biggest criticisms that, or at least some of the biggest criticisms I've seen about this movie, which has been doing well at the box office and doing well with critics overall, but not as well as the first one in both respects. And I agree with you, Will, that the first part really stands on its own. Like, that was one of the big things that I was surprised by. I knew it was a part one, and I was like, this could just be the one movie. Like, I don't even need the other movie. And then there's a whole other movie coming, so that should be interesting. But one of the biggest criticisms was, I feel like, really focused on the connections to the Wizard of Oz. So a lot of people, I guess, that didn't also know that, spoiler, Spock becomes the Tin Man, Fiyero becomes the Scarecrow, etc. Um, that it didn't all tie in exactly, and now they're going to go back and watch 1939 and be like, well, that doesn't make sense. How did the Tin Man mellow out in between, like his rage filled rants, swinging that axe around. Do you think that tying this movie into The Wizard of Oz helps Wicked as a property, or actually kind of holds it back because it does invite that comparison? And how do you think that dynamic between those two stories speaks to the larger themes of identity and truth and perception? Whoever wants to jump in. I guess Ashley, go ahead.
Okay. I think that the tie-in of Wizard of Oz was actually helpful because it really shows, like, in real life, whenever things are happening, everybody has their own version of the story of what was really going down. And so by bringing in that tie-in, we're getting another version of the story. And so, yes, I totally get that, the Tin Man was very mellow in the 1930s version, but we don't know if he was just doing that because he was trying to get help from this lady from Kansas so that he could go and hurt the Wicked Witch, or maybe it could have been so many different things, right? So just having these additional nuances, I think, is a good thing because it just adds more layers to it. And I mean, that's what we wanted anyway, right? Like, that was the whole point of trying to get a prequel, is what really happened between Glinda and Elphaba, aka the good witch and the bad witch kind of thing. So I personally liked the fact that they tied it in as much as they did. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but for me, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I think it's also people have difficulty squaring that there could be two versions of a story that are not necessarily intended to be edited together into one piece. It's the broad strokes of the story that we know, but like in very different contexts. I mean, I don't see anybody complaining about how Oz the Great and Powerful, Kevin, doesn't exactly
Lord.
tie into the Wizard of Oz. Like, well, where
No.
does Monkey Friend go? And wait a minute,
I don't care
the
where
wizard
Monkey
is
Friend goes.
the wizard is like kind of in a relationship with Glinda. Now I have to have that in my head when I watch 1939's, which
Yeah.
ends, for those of you on this recording who haven't seen that movie, ends with the wizard, played by James Franco, being like, "Hey, come behind the curtain. I have something for you too," and then like making out with Glinda.
The line as it's written there has aged exceptionally poorly, given that he's played by James Franco. So I guess you're right, Ashley, that some people can disagree with you. I kind of, as much as I adore The Wizard of Oz, like, as its own thing, I think that it's the Oz inclusions for me are kind of a mixed bag here, because on the one hand, I think that all the people, the characters that turn into the ones that we know, it makes sense thematically with what this is doing. So like Bach becomes like a Tin Man. He's heartless for staying with her and not staying with Nessa and not being honest with her and just leaving it out, like, sort of stringing her along. The Scarecrow, he's brainless but not really. And then the Cowardly Lion, I think, probably the best integration of, like, he's terrified of everything. He doesn't know what his story is of how he was rescued, like the world's telling him the ultimate is. Like, for me, if I wasn't so deeply familiar with The Wizard of Oz just as a movie, and Wicked was like the only things I'd seen, I would have gotten to these scenes in this movie and felt like, oh, this feels like it should be really important to me that he turned into a Tin Man or a Scarecrow, but why? And then when the scenes where they try to connect it directly to, oh, this is where she told the monkeys to grab Dorothy,
Right.
and, oh, Dorothy down the road, just keep going, it's a one road. I'm like, it would take me out of it, because it works against this as a prequel for me. And like, oh, you have to have knowledge of, oh, these characters to go in and see this part of the story. So it doesn't kill the movie for me. Like, it's not a big thing, but I do think that the degree to which the tie-ins are employed, it's a mixed bag for me.
If you take this as canon to The Wizard of Oz, then the Wicked Witch, the only thing she did with, like, remotely wicked was kidnap Dorothy and yell at her about taking her shoes off for like
Yeah,
10 minutes.
which that moment, as great as Cynthia Erivo is in both these movies, that moment where it's just the camera staring her downstairs like, girl, you don't. I'm like, oh, just.
You ever want to see your aunt? What's her name again? Get
Oh
those
my
shoes off your
God,
feet.
that just yeah, that that was the one moment where I'm like, yeah.
And then there's all these things going around too now, like it cutting together the footage of Judy Garland in the, being captive by the Wicked Witch and hearing them sing "For Good" above her. Be like, the hell is going on?
I, and
How
to
about
be
you
honest,
let me
like,
out?
oh yeah, and to be honest, like I
Just
saw
hilarious.
somebody say like, how could Dorothy do that to her when she heard them burying their souls?
Right,
And I
exactly.
responded like, if I'm a 9-year-old girl and I come to this land and I've been told that an evil green witch wants to kill me and she's shown nothing but evilness towards me, and I have an opportunity to kill that person and get out, I'm going to kill that person and get out.
Right. Will, do you have any thoughts on this question before we move on?
Yeah, I think this is kind of the thing about the movie that ultimately doesn't quite work for me, and I think it just comes down to the fact. I saw this second one with my sister-in-law, who's a big Wicked fan, and I was kind of just racking her brain a little bit to kind of figure out like how truthful or accurate this is to the musical. And from what I can gather, the musical kind of alludes to the Wizard of Oz maybe a little bit more than directly connects to it, which is like what I expected kind of going into this. Like you were talking about, Robert, where it's like I thought we were just going to kind of get like all the stuff about Wizard of Oz is kind of happening in the background. And it's like stuff that you can, you know, you'll get little Easter eggs, and it's like little like, oh, this is when this happens and this happens, but it's not directly tying into the narrative. And it seems like this movie it's kind of at catch 22 where it's like it needs to kind of honor these moments because it feels like it has to, but I feel like by focusing more on the Wizard of Oz, it kind of interferes with the story that's telling, because it kind of
Mhm.
has the prequel issue of like it character decisions will feel less organic because it's not really like what we know about the characters. It just feels like, okay, this is when this happens in the Wizard of Oz, and so this has to happen, so we have to figure out a way for that to happen, for this to connect. And I feel like if the movie is more directly tethering itself to the Wizard of Oz, it's kind of stripping its own identity and kind of feeling like it's beholden to a film that I love. Obviously, it's and I can understand being so reverent to that, but it's like this weird thing where it's like I think there's certain things that they can't legally do. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
like the ruby slippers is obviously they're not ruby because I think Warner Brothers has the copyright, and also I believe they're silver in the book, so it's like, okay, I get that. And like you don't you can show, I guess, Dorothy's like outfit, but you don't show her face because like maybe there's I don't really know exactly like what's allowed and not allowed, and it was kind of fascinating to watch this, like trying to figure out like what the board meetings were, where it's like you can show the cowardly lion but you can't stand up or something, like just kind of figuring out like how exactly like they managed this all. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it just kind of raises more questions for me that the movie doesn't quite answer, and I think that's why ultimately for me I think the first one works a little bit better, not only because it feels like its own self-contained thing, but it just feels like it's kind of uh nipped in the bud a little bit because
Mhm.
it's being like I said, tethered to this other film that it's kind of unavoidable to make comparisons to, and it just kind of makes it unable to tell its own fully fleshed out organic story, I feel like.
I agree with you, Will, and that like I think that I was watching it's really so I've seen it twice. The first time I was watching it, I was really part of me like I was enjoying the story and like emotionally engaged in all of that. But I was also like, it felt like whenever they showed Dorothy at all, they were like teasing me, like, oh look, she's over there. Hey, look, she's over there. Look, she just ran past the little crack in the door. And I'm like,
Well, she was
movie,
just here.
just like show her or don't, or like, what is this? And then I saw just show her or don't, or just don't. I don't know. It felt like a tease on the Oz fans to me, like to have her
Most blatantly in
like
the
she
whole
was.
"Bye bye Dorothy, bye bye Dodo." It's just that
Yeah,
one road the whole time.
that if it had just been that, I would have been like, okay, that's fine. But like, it was more like again, like we see her from the back in the wizard's room, and we see her running across the screen, but not her full face. And I was like, do you guys have legal access to use this character, or do you not? Like, this is the biggest game of like halfwaying it that I've
Right.
seen with a studio IP, maybe
I
ever.
mean, it kind of reminds me of like the Quicksilver stuff, like when like Marvel and then there was like the Fox, where it's like
Yeah.
they both had Quicksilver, but it's like, okay, you can do he can be Magneto's son in this, but he does this, it's like kind of odd like legalities. I feel like you're kind of
Hmm.
watching like like almost like a board meeting. It's like, okay, well, you can do this, but you can't do that. And it's, yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it ends up being more distracting than it should be, unfortunately. And I understand, you can only do so much if you're not, from, Warner Brothers, but
MGM.
yeah,
Will,
or a gym, yeah.
you're making me picture 6 like lawyers and 6
Yeah.
writers, and they've all got law books, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, can we do this? What about
Right,
this?
Right.
And they're
That's what
just
it
like
felt like.
the Lollipop Guild, just like
Yeah, that's what it felt. That's what it felt like. It was like,
a
okay, so we
legalese
could
guild.
show her from the back and show her from the side, and show the dog Toto, but not her. We're casting actors for her, and she's advertising stuff. It was a fun game of legalese as far as that aspect of it went. It didn't distract me from like the emotions or like the main thrust of the story, but it was like, okay, you guys are definitely having to play ball with MGM or whoever owns the right to show which characters here.
We get the idea at the end of the movie that basically this is Glinda remembering everything. So I don't know about you, but whenever I'm telling a story, I sometimes get the timelines wrong. So maybe that's just all it was, is Glinda had a little too much bubble in her brain.
There you go. It's also like, tricky because like this is obviously a bit of a cop out, but like the movie can only do so much because that's how the musical is. And they're clearly being so faithful to the musical to do 2 movies instead of 1, to not cut any songs and and if anything, build things out, which obviously from a box office perspective has really paid off for them. And I think the longevity of this franchise, which I have a question about later, uh, lends itself to that. But I think where this movie improves upon the musical is that the act 2 in the musical is like 45 minutes or something. It's just like boom, 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 boom. And now there's a Tin Man, and now that's a Scarecrow, and now she got squished, and now, the shoes are gone, and oh, there's fighting, and now it's just like go, 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 go with no room to breathe and none of those character moments. Whereas in this, they have over 2 hours to expand what was really initially the first minute of Thank Goodness into a whole 5-minute song that's like, let's catch up with everybody. Here's what Elphaba is. Here's Glinda. She's still doing her little viral dance with her friends. And, you kind of get like a previously on Wicked sort of vibe with that, which I love because it's just like, remember how great that movie was? Here's like a little greatest hits medley of stuff melodically from that previous movie. But this one really expands on Elphaba and Glinda's arcs. And I think that's where this improves upon that, is that we get more of an understanding of their motivations. The whole animal subplot is pretty much largely dropped with the exception of Dr. Dillamond reveal in Act 2. And how do you feel that the 2 ladies' main stories landed emotionally in this film? And then to dovetail off of that, how do you think that the 2 songs that they added, one for No Place Like Home for Elphaba and The Girl in the Bubble for Glinda, do you think they feel like necessary additions, or does it feel like they were just like, we need to pad this out to over 2 hours?
I felt like the songs were good, but they also felt really rushed to me. I don't know if that makes complete sense or not, but like I love all the songs from the original production, but these felt like they could have used just a touch more polish. Um, I feel like they do speak to the emotions of the characters, and they were definitely more than filler because of that, but it just felt like it did feel rushed. It felt like they added it because they were trying to pad it out, and they could have just executed it just a hair better.
Yeah, I kind of was. So I liked both of the new songs in here a lot. I think especially for Glinda, just where she's at as a character, it did exactly what it set out to do when they created, which is like, okay, we don't see her make the decision to get more actively involved in helping her friend. So I think the song does a good job of having her like have her bubble be popped and come down to earth and realize she wants to help. So that was good. and I like. So yeah, I think it's really good on a character level. The No Place Like Home song, I think, works more thematically
Mm.
for me than on a character level. Like, I think the way that that song gets cut off at the last bar kind of makes it feel like, oh, that just happened. I mean, I get why it's there, but it's like, oh, I'm not gonna remember that as much outside of this
I get a
scene.
sense that because Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were so in lockstep throughout production, like we have each other's backs. We're gonna advocate and make sure we're paid the same, and we all have the same, both have the same allowances. I sense that each of them getting a new song was part of that kind of keeping the balance as well. Because I agree with you, Kevin. I think No Place Like Home thematically really fits, but in the movie, like I love seeing Dulcibert, and I think it's cool that the animals have like a
Mhm.
little underground railroad thing sort of happening under the yellow brick road. But it's also she's like, no, we need to stay and fight for Oz. Oh, nope. Okay, I guess you guys are leaving.
Well, oh yeah, that
I'm
was the
gonna go
one
find my
that the
sister.
cutting line comes in like, no, guys, don't do it. Okay, it's like, oh, uh,
Props to
yeah, I was,
Coleman Domingo for making a meal of like 3 lines, by the way.
yeah, yeah. Like they were advertising like, you're never gonna believe who we got for the Cowardly Lion, you guys. I'm like, and I didn't even know it was him. Like I saw it was him like the day before I saw it, and I'm listening like, guys, if you hadn't told me that was him, I never would have picked it up. It's
Right,
three
exactly.
lines.
I
Yeah,
mean, when they were teasing that, I was like, oh God, please don't make it be James Corden. Please don't
Oh,
make it be
no,
James
I was saying
Corden.
like, is it gonna be
yeah,
Dwayne
yeah.
Johnson? Is Dwayne Johnson the Cowardly Lion?
Chris Pratt is filling out his infinity gauntlet of voice roles.
Yeah,
Mario,
yeah.
Garfield.
The cats, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought Girl in the Bubble fit a little bit more because this movie, as you were all kind of mentioning, um makes a point to kind of make Glenda a little bit more central than that sounds like it was, at least in the musical, obviously as far as the original movie goes. But yeah, I mean, I think her story and the way that her narrative is being informed here, I feel like both songs kind of have that Disney live action thing where it's like, I don't think they're necessary because like I don't think they like would have been, you know, axed or not included in the original if they were super necessary. But like I think at least Girl in the Bubble does, I think, really inform more of Glenda's character in this, as far as you know, understanding where she is at that point in the film. As far as No Place Like Home, I think it's not a bad song, but I feel like it would have probably fit better in the last film, just because
Mm.
that was a little, like what's discussing is a little bit more relevant to like what was going on in that film. But also, I think again, it just kind of fits in that thing of like you're directly trying to make me think about the Wizard of Oz, and I'm just thinking about the
Mhm.
Wizard of Oz and not like you know, what Elphaba is really kind of going through here. So I think yeah, ultimately I'm a little bit more favorable of Girl in the Bubble. Yeah, I don't think either song blew me away necessarily, but yeah, I think they're fine for what they are.
I think they both have grown on me in the last few weeks. I do think that The Girl in the Bubble does stand out. Like if they're obviously bidding for a Best Original Song nomination at the Oscars, I think that'll be the one that'll get the nod. And I think it helps that the first film, as we were saying earlier, is very clearly like Elphaba's story, and it kind of concludes on her arc and her origin story into how the witch became quote wicked, and this one is very much puts an exclamation point on how Glinda became good. And we get the parallels of the flashbacks of young Elphaba in the first film and young Glinda here, that pivotal decision moment that they each see the reflection of the younger self and all of that. So like to me now, Girl in the Bubble sort of feels intrinsic, and I agree with all of you. Like I think it is well, much more interwoven into the fabric of this movie. Um, at its heart, obviously, like the Wicked is not only a story about the power of friendship, but also, as you were saying, well, with No Place Like Home, very clear political allegory. And Stephen Schwartz has said, like, this may or may not be relevant to the current situation that we're dealing with. Uh, it obviously, directly speaks to the power of influence, misinformation, and otherness. How has watching these movies in 2025, 2024, and 2025, I guess, sort of shaped your interpretation of the Wicked story?
I think the biggest thing for me is that it just shows, the old adage of absolute power corrupts absolutely, but it's also just how attractive it can be. I mean, you get into this position where you're given everything in the world and you could turn it down. Like, really? Like, how do you turn it down? Oh, well, as Fiero says, well, you know who could. But it's like, I can see how alluring it could be to be like, oh, I'm one of the in crowd. And because of this, I get all this power and influence. So I think it just kind of speaks a little bit more to how when people are wrapped up in a situation, they could be wicked or they could be good. It just kind of depends on the situation and who they're around.
And there's a lot of added dialogue and lyrics in Wonderful that I think really, really hammers that home. I forgot because I'm obviously listening to the soundtrack to this now the last few weeks, but I went back and listened to the Broadway recording of Wonderful, and I'm like, oh, that whole first part about take it from a wise old carney, that whole thing, once they've swallowed sham and hokum, facts and logic won't unchoke them. That wasn't in the Broadway version. It's
Okay,
like
so that's new.
there's no that
I
little
didn't realize
section
that.
is, and I had suspected going into this that Wonderful would have been the song that would have had the biggest glow up from stage to screen, and I think it really does, because I really prefer this version because it is so much more tempting for Elphaba, but because Glinda's involved, and also the lyrics and everything are so much more sharpened and relevant, as Stephen Schwartz would say, to what's happening now politically.
Yeah, I was kind of that wonderful song in particular. So the something I had to give this movie credit for that a lot, and I think a lot of modern movies get really wrong, is that a lot of modern movies are trying to have a message and comment on today, which
Mhm.
hey, art's informed by the time in which it's released. I feel like Wicked gets it right of, hey, does this function as a story about characters that I want to engage with and follow and be with emotionally before you get to your underlying themes? Like, yeah, I think it works as a story. I see those themes in there. I see a lot of parallels to a lot of things today. And I think a lot of people have resonated with it because the way this is written, because it's so faithful to how it was originally with some additions. I think it's really easy for a lot of people to make their own parallels or decisions about this equals that, or this
Mhm.
person equals that, or blah, blah, blah. It's really, it makes it, it makes it kind of a universally identifiable story. And I think as far as speaking to like power and truth and all of that, I really like that this. I like that this subverts the idea of like, oh, we get a lot of revolutions, right? Like Hunger Games and Maze Runner, things like that. Where it's like, okay, the revolutionaries took down the oppressive, evil guys, and then it was all great. I like that this story is like, actually, no, that doesn't always work, and it puts more pressure on the people that are in power who can use their position to make life better for the people around them. It puts more on them to do something, and I appreciate it. I mean, it's not saying like don't fight or anything, but it's like, hey, if you have a position that you can use for good, for the movie's on subtitle, then yeah, you should use that good position to improve things for others and just keep on improving yourself along with that.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there is too much more to add that hasn't already been discussed as far as this question goes, but yeah, I mean, I think Wonderful might have been my favorite song in this film, just because I think it does feel like it's the one that they had the kind of most cinematic flair. You can tell
mm,
Jeff Goldblum really kind of got to play more in that scene, and I was a little confused about like I'm sorry, the dynamic between Glinda and Alphaba, just because like they were so at odds, and it seems like they're kind of oddly like really buddy buddy again in that scene with in a way that didn't really connect to me
mhm.
personally. But yeah, no, I mean, I think as far as the political allegory of the film goes, I mean, I think the story, there's a reason it's such a popular thing, and how it connects to the now. I mean, I think they're very self aware about that, and we're very pointed in their commentary for sure.
Behind every powerful man hiding behind a giant mechanical face, there's Michelle Yeoh whipping her hands around. I guess is
Man,
the big takeaway.
I was when she started doing that, I was like, oh, she's still pissed that they didn't give it for Doctor Strange. So she's showing us now
Yeah, there you
what
go.
she can do. That's all I could
She's
think
like, I
of.
could have been the
But
Scarlet Witch.
I
Take that,
could have been the
Elizabeth Olsen.
Scarlet Witch. I could have been the Ancient One. Hell, I could have been Doctor Strange. It could have been something like that's what. But yeah, like that. I was gonna say this, like I see a lot of people criticizing Michelle Yeoh saying this. Yeah, her
I
singing's
mean,
not great. Her acting is. So to me, it was a good dividend. It's like, look, they ask you to sing 5 to 10 lines in 5 hours, and then the
mhm,
rest of it, your acting performance is
right.
pitch perfect. So
Yeah.
fine.
The only line that I really bristle at is the "finally a day that is wicked witch free," and she hangs on, and I'm like, oh gosh, no, don't do that. Like, just let that be spoken. Let
No.
her just say it.
Well, and then I
That
saw like I read that they gave a bunch of Madame Marvel's initially sung lines to the Ozian townspeople instead. I'm
yeah,
like, okay,
yes,
good.
yeah, they
Uh,
did, and
I
they trimmed a section where in the musical she's describing the false pretense, the a false account of what happened at the end of the first movie. I think it has a lot to say as far as how you can harness that power and how this sort of bittersweet victory at the end of this, where Glinda is trusted by the people, and so she's the one that has to take over for both of us, as Elphaba says. So I love that whole how they're not so much they don't it's not so much the power that you hold as it is the pretense of power, and the again, kind of going back to the first movie, it's the popular side of things that really kind of gets you in the door. Do you think this movie justified the two film adaptation, or do you think that they should have tried to squeeze this down to one? If so, how would that have worked in your opinion?
I almost wanted it to be 3 movies. Like, gosh,
Oh, well, give them time, there'll be more.
okay.
no,
Hey,
no,
they
I
they
mean
they're making
for this
more.
story.
Right.
I don't mean beyond Wicked's part 1 and 2. I mean like I meant the actual musical. If they're gonna flesh it out to make it 2 movies, why not make it 3? And I know, yeah, okay, they're trying to add more to the verse, but I'm or to the universe. But I just mean like from the storyline. Like I would have liked to have had more of it, because what they did do with these 2 films is they gave so much more to it, and they really made you fall in love and have your heart broken for these characters so much more. And so I don't think they could have cut any of it. Like I think what they did with it, I loved it. So, but again, I'm just fangirling over here, and I know the boys are going to rip it apart. So go ahead.
I
Kevin,
have
well,
only one. All right. So I think that this absolutely justifies a two-part adaptation, or as it is now. If it had been three, and and the second one would have been great, and the third movie would have been great, sure, I would have been happy with the trilogy. But as it is now, I'm very happy with a two-part adaptation. Even though I think some stuff in this part is rushed compared to the first one, which felt like it had a little bit more time to breathe within itself. Even though they added a lot to this, I still felt that the plot points in this one felt a little bit more rushed to me. The character moments were slowed down, which I liked. Um, I think it justifies the two-part adaptation. The only thing I would have trimmed out of either one of these movies, I know it's a song from the play. I would have cut the Sentimental Man song from part one because here's why.
that would
Here's
be the
why.
only
Here's
one
why.
that
Here's
you
why. Hold
could
on.
cut and not sacrifice story.
Here's why.
Yeah.
Because at that point in the movie, so it's been like because at that point in the movie, we've just entered the wizard's castle, and the tone is darkened and it's more sinister, and we're building up to finally seeing him, and the shoe is about to drop as the monster he really is, and the movie has built him up so well as like this guy that's really good. Like we're on Elphaba's side, we believe in him like she does, and so having him sing that song about how great he is with everything else in the movie to me feels like if I wasn't if I didn't know where this was going with that character, I would have been tipped off by the inclusion of that song. And it slows the pacing down a little bit for me and conflicts with the darker tone of that section. It's still it's a fine song, but it's just tonally
It
it
slows the
feels a
pace
little
of that
like
first one down a bit.
it's
Yeah.
slow. It's the only place in the entire first movie where I feel like the pace slows down, and I'm like, okay,
I
we're
think
not.
it's also just blatant foreshadowing. He always longed to be a father. And
Oh,
he says son or daughter, and then it cuts over to Elphaba, and I'm like, I get it. Take it
I didn't
down.
even. Oh,
But I
yeah,
also
that,
feel like that part of the character, like I feel like he genuinely feels that way. I feel like he genuinely wanted to have a family and wanted to be a father. Maybe that's why he's running around with his green elixir, invading,
yeah,
wrecking homes throughout Oz, essentially.
yeah. That was definitely. I mean, the fact that it's included, it's fine. Like he sells it, and I think probably the thing that they told, probably the reason why they kept it, other than staying well at the stage show, was that I think it does give him a good character moment of like this is how he sees himself, so we can get into his head for a minute. I mean, yeah, again, it's a mixed bag thing, but it's one small flaw in the movie that I otherwise think is pretty great, is almost perfect. So it's like fine, you were being loyal,
It's a short
you know.
song too.
It's just yeah, it's a
It's like
short song.
2 minutes maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, other than that, fine,
Well,
all good.
Wicked is two movies, one movie, three or more thoughts.
I mean, I generally am of the mind that like if you can tell the story on the stage in 2.5 hours, I believe you could probably do the same with the film. But I will say, I mean, if you look at the like semi or recent films that have done the 2-part thing, I think some done it quite well. I think Dune does it quite well. I think Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows does it well. I think some have done it less well, like Hunger Games Mockingjay or
Mhm.
Twilight Breaking Dawn or whatever. But I think this is like somewhere in the middle for me. I think a lot of the flaws get amplified with the second part being its own film, but I will say it seems like the fans really resonate with the fact that you can see everything they love about the musical, if not more, on the screen, and they've been waiting for this movie for years. And I think if we're just looking at it just as an audience experience, I think they justified it. I don't think personally it need to be 2 parts, but I can respect the decision, and I think Universal is totally happy with all the money they're making by making it 2 parts. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're rolling in green.
Exactly. Now, I think the tonal shift and the significant time jump, I think, make that a lot easier to swallow as a two-parter. Because the status quo has changed so much by the time we get to Act Two or the second film. The Act Two of the musical, yes, they tell it in 2.5 hours, but like Ashley can attest to it. You barely have time to process what's going on. You're like, wait, now Fiero's with Elphaba? When did that happen? And also, by the way, we didn't talk about As Long as You're Mine yet.
Ooh,
And was
that
that
is the sexy. That is the sexiest song you will see in a PG movie
I I'm
this decade, probably.
I think it's hilarious that one lady went viral for
Oh,
being like,
dude.
I took my kids to see this, and these people are holding each
Or
other and
well, and
kissing
yeah,
briefly on a bed
and
for 2 seconds at the end.
what's
Like,
funny to
Jesus.
me about that lady is like, well, I took my kid to see this movie, and it was really dark and themes of propaganda and just evil and awful stuff. That was all okay, but the moment they started like undressing each other mildly, that was the point at which
She
I
took off her
decided
sweater, guys.
I can't.
She took
She
off her
took off her
sweater.
sweater. My
And
6-year-old
now
daughter can't see this.
the sex cardigan is like selling out all over wherever you could find those. It's like a thing now. Um, yeah, but the metal guy almost axe murdering his girlfriend. No, that's totally
Yeah,
fine.
that
That's totally fine. Yeah.
no, honestly, any scene involving Nessa Rose and Bach is completely fine in this woman's mind for a young child. Like that's something I like about this. Like I was nervous after the first. I'm like, okay, I remember saying actually in dark. Are they going to actually commit to that? Are they going to try and make it like a family movie or a children's movie? And at the beginning of the movie, where they do the "Thank Goodness" song, I'm like, I'm digging this, but we need to like it's a good song. Like we're doing it, but we're gonna make this childish. And then right after, like, nope, we're not. Kids, get out. Yeah. So I applaud John Chu for being able to handle the darker tone of this
Yeah.
thing and downplay about 98% of the goofy comedy and make this work. That to me justifies Main Part its own thing because it needed to have its own tone. If we went from a movie with the tone of the first one and then the last 45 minutes to an hour was this,
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh dear God, this works on stage, not in a movie though.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Right before we got on this call, you guys just reminded me of this. Right before we got on this call, I saw a meme that said, Wicked for Good is the only movie where two sisters are getting smashed at the same
I
time.
saw that too.
And it's yeah, and it's like
What?
one sister getting smashed by the house.
Oh God.
It's terrible.
I didn't think about that. That's really funny though.
Good
So I
stuff.
was looking, that's a rose looking from heaven like, you gotta be kidding me.
This is let me check in on my sister. She's probably really mourning me. Oh no, no. She's not.
No.
She doesn't know yet, I guess.
Yeah,
no, I love that song. I love that number. I love the chemistry between those two in that scene. I think it's I think they successfully reframed it as a song about yearning rather than a song about the two of them, because in the stage production they're basically on their knees the whole time, the whole song, like kind of holding each other. So the end part of the song where they are levitating and then they descend onto the bed, that's kind of an homage to, hey, this is how the musical, how you're used to seeing the whole song be performed, with the smoke machine, which is very ominous and sexy. Any thoughts on As Long as You're Mine, or any of the songs we didn't really talk about March of the Witch Hunters. Ashley, what did they do to our beloved Tin Man? He seems pissed off about something.
Yeah, they made him have no heart. Duh. My God.
with the Witch Hunters song, I would say that I like it. I think I like how and this is just inherent to how the musical went, but I like how subversive the movie is without calling attention to itself. Like, I like that all the characters that we meet at the beginning of the first movie, I don't think anybody could tell if they didn't know beforehand that they were going down the path they did. Like, Bach is presented to us as this kind of little, quiet, nice guy. And then by the end of this one, he's an angry, raging tin man with an axe in his hand and murder in his eyes.
With an axe to grind.
Yeah. Yes, he had a major axe to grind. That I really like that they added the look that he gives up at Glinda from that.
Yes.
He's down the ground, she's up there, and I like that it's ambiguous as to, at least I read it as ambiguous as to whether or not she even knows that that's him at that point or not.
What do we
Yeah, I
think,
think
Ashley? Will, the box glare up at Glinda's balcony.
I mean, I took it as she somehow knew, just because there was
I
this
did
like
too.
look of like concern and panic on her face, and not just like, who is that man made of tin?
She immediately goes inside and sings a whole song about, like, I guess I got to do something. So yeah, I could see it that way also. Yeah, is there any elements of the filmmaking that stood out to you this time around? Obviously, there's a lot of hype going into this one, $750 million box office of the first film. What is there anything about this one that stood out this time around that we haven't talked about?
I mean, I would just say that, the first movie was kind of primarily focused on the university, and we kind of got a little bit of Oz, in the third act. I liked it this time, as a fan of the Wizard of Oz, just seeing, actually Oz, like the Yellow Brick Road being made, and just kind of more of the Munchkins and stuff. I mean, that stuff, it warmed my bitter heart just to see those on the big screen, in an albeit new fashion. I just was like kind of tickled to see that. I think some of the CG kind of detracts from some of the practical effects. Like we talked about the Scarecrow. I kind of wish they didn't like do like kind of like the face tuning a little bit and just left it, because you like see the like behind the scenes and it's like really detailed and really extenuated by like a lot of hard work and care. And I feel like they kind of glossed it with a little bit too much CG to amplify that in a way that I feel like kind of takes the hard work out of it a little bit. But yeah, no, I mean, I thought the production design, the recreation of Oz in a modern way was really cool.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree. I think the first movie won costume design and production design Oscars. I think this one has a solid chance if it could beat Frankenstein, depending what happens with makeup and hairstyling, because of what they did with the Tin Man specifically. I think that just looks really good. And there's from what I understand, minimal CG, just like with the joints, obviously, and things like that. And then the cinematography in Girl in the Bubble has been getting a lot of buzz as well. The going in and out of the mirrors. Um, Ashley, anything, any other elements of the film to jump on?
Watching the behind the scenes of how they did the girl in the bubble, I mean, that was just incredible, all the camera work they did for that. But I do kind of agree that some of the computer generated effects kind of did detract from some of it. Um, but I mean, overall, I guess again, going back to the whole I'm fangirling the whole time. I'm obsessed with it, wanting to just love it for what it is. I can pick apart certain parts of it. I
Mhm.
could, but I feel like kind of like Glinda, I just want to gloss over it and just keep it all prettified.
Yeah, no, I get that. How did you, as a fan, a purist of the musical, and a Wicked fangirl, Ashley, how did the ending sit with you? Because the ending is significantly expanded, and I think puts the characters in a different, and it is an interesting place going forward.
I mean, I like the fact that the spell book came to life for Glinda, but it really bothered me that that it ended with Fiero and Elphaba in like this deserted land. I mean,
Mm.
I get it. It's starting anew, it's a fresh canvas and all that stuff, but to me it felt so bleak and it just bothered me so much cuz like when I think of the musical, I think of them going away to a faraway land where everything is beautiful and everything's fine, and in this I was just like, dang, they just went, like, to the trenches, bro.
What are they
Like
supposed to? I mean, she needs to, like, still eat food and like like what is how is she gonna? He's a
Yeah,
scarecrow. He's fine. So what is she gonna do though?
she's gonna make magic, duh!
I guess
yeah,
magic herself. Like here's a steak and just
yeah.
hang out in the middle of the desert.
I was, I was I thought it was bittersweet. I thought it was very bittersweet. Like it's bitter that she's basically out in the middle of nowhere with him now, but at least she is with someone who truly loves and appreciates her, and she inspired Glinda to start doing more good for others. But yeah, I was when it was like probably like, oh, we can't have a happy ending. It makes sense, but I don't. I wish what
Um,
I would have wanted
yeah.
personally versus how it serves the story are two very different things.
Well, there's in the L. Frank Baum books, and I know this is based on the musical, loosely based on the Gregory Maguire book, inspired by the Wizard of Oz, which is based on the Wonderful World of Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. But in the Baum books, the first of few of which I've read, there are other magical lands. So do they end up in the, what is it, the land of Ev? I think it's called EV, which plays a role in I think the second or third book. Maybe that's maybe they end up in Kansas, and then Dorothy will crap her
God.
pants and be like, "No, she followed me here." And how does Dorothy
Oh,
get back to Kansas? Does Glinda that book
oh.
just open up and she's immediately like, "Oh, I got it," and sends her back? They don't answer
Just
that.
flicks her across the bubble.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I know
exactly.
that was the other thing where like as a Wizard of Oz movie nerd, I'm like, wait, the wizard has had an unexpected absence. How does she get out?
Yeah, is there some
How does she
residual
leave?
magic in those shoes, like in the 1939?
It it didn't like it didn't matter to me much. It was like, all right, the focus on other things that it should be. It was like Dorothy's leaving, right? Like is she staying here or leaving or
I like how Glinda seems just like constantly annoyed by Dorothy. She's like, "Wait, I want to go home." And Glinda's watching from the balcony. It's just like, I swear, there's always something with that girl. Like she's just like, "Ugh, I wish she would just stop whining and like let it be. Uh, Alphaba should have kept you locked up, I think is what she's
yeah.
thinking. So that ending sort of sets the stage for something to come next. We know that Universal Pictures has already confirmed that the Wicked universe will continue in some form. Lots of source material to mine from. I have my own ideas of what they could do with it at some point. Where would you all like to see the franchise go? Another movie, TV series, a prequel, a sequel, a spinoff? what do you think? What story do you want to see next? More Coleman Domingo as the lion? There's a whole book called A Lion Among Men, the fourth Maguire book, where he's like the main character. So a lot of people are theorizing that might be one direction we're headed. Will, any thoughts?
I mean, my worry is that they're going to try to do a remake of The Wizard of Oz, which I think is just,
Yeah, I hope not.
they're just setting themselves
God,
up to
please, no.
fail. Yeah, I
No,
mean, that's
don't
like
do it.
that's my big concern at the moment. I feel like they'll probably try to do like some sort of like Peacock original series or something. I don't really know if they can do another film. I mean, never say never. I mean, I'm sure they could find a way if they wanted to. I feel like this story is pretty complete as it is. For most of the main characters, I feel like you'd have to kind of look at, like you said, some of the side characters, some of the characters who weren't as focused on in the story, and if that's the Cowardly Lion, I mean, if Coleman Domingo gets more work, I'm more than happy to see that because he's a great actor. But yeah, I mean, I don't know really where to go with this. I'm glad I'm not in that boardroom trying to figure that out.
He starts a football team called the Lions. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Moves to
Okay, I'll
Detroit.
see myself out. I'll see
Oh, wow.
myself out.
He becomes the founder of Pride Rock, and we have a Lion King origin story again.
No. Even worse CGI than the few moments here. Oh no.
Kevin, any thoughts, ideas, joke or otherwise?
Yeah, I would think that you could either make I'm concerned about like what does it mean more wicked?
Yeah.
I'm concerned about how that's gonna look. I don't, like Dib said, I don't want a remake of Wizard of Oz. Like they announced that, I'm like, I'm not watching that. I don't care who you get. I don't care how talented. Like, there's no justifiable reason to do this, and you're not going to top that movie. In terms of what I think they could do, I think that you could either make a sort of middle movie of like what happened from the end of part one, like in the 5-year time step, what happened there to get us to for goods events, but you're kind of locked into certain things have to happen. Or you could take the germ of the good idea that Oswald and Powerful had and misused of what happened actually in this universe when the wizard got to Oz and how did he ascend to power in the first place. I feel like those are things you could do. Yeah, those would be, if I'm somebody and they say like what can you do, like those are the only two things I've got. And then I read that Graham McGuire is in the process of writing a Glinda prequel book, which I'm sure they're probably gonna knock on his door for that. After that, so yeah, those three things are the only things I can think of as to like how to logically expand this and not damage it.
I mean, didn't they just do a prequel of Elphaba's?
They sure
Elphaba's
did.
story?
Elfie came out this year. Glinda comes out next year. A Charmed Childhood or whatever the subtitle is. Something like
So
that.
then we could do all three stories mixed together, and we find out
Wicked
what's happening with
babies.
all of them as yes, wicked babies.
Wicked babies. Oh, that's.
I do think the idea though with the wizard and making him maybe a little bit more of a conflicted character, a more kind of complex character than he was in Oz the Great and Powerful, I'd be totally fine with that. I think that's kind of a cool idea, and certainly politically relevant. And I just hope if they do that, there's not any more de-aged Jeff
No more
Yeah,
de-aging. Like
just get a different actor. We could
get another
style him
actor.
like,
Get another actor to do it. Like find a and I would, if I was making this, I would absolutely be like, okay, we're gonna get a younger actor. Put him in makeup to make him look more like Jeff Goldblum if you want, like this facially, I guess. But yeah, we're not gonna de-age an 80-year-old actor to look 50. It's like, no, get another actor. Do that. It's easier. It costs less.
Yeah, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt with prosthetics looking like Bruce Willis from the future.
God.
Come on,
Yeah,
give me Looper.
Yeah, do it like do it like Looper did. That
Wicked Looper.
do it like that.
Take notes, Universal.
Yeah, or hell, if you must get Jesse Plemons to do it. They put that guy everywhere.
They do.
Like,
surprised he's not in this.
Could the story continue? Like, could we get a return of the Wicked Witch?
I don't know.
Would you want to see that though? Like, would you want would you want to see, like, because it'd be an original story, they wouldn't have anything to fall back on. It's like, it's all on whatever the writers come up with. If it's
It's a
worth the
thought.
risk.
Yeah, I have ideas about what they could do with the next one, because I think the fact that the Baum books have been around since 1900 and still haven't gotten a franchise out of this is the reason these were on Close Watch and not franchise detours, because they're all just shooting their shot at an Oz story, and they're all based on the same IP, but not really any of them
It's all
connected.
fan fiction.
Kind of,
Yeah.
to an extent, yeah. And I feel like this is your opportunity to do a ongoing franchise in the world of Oz. Just so for me, ideally, they would split the difference between the Baum books and the Maguire books and kind of draw inspiration from both. And I think there are opportunities there with Son of a Witch, which is the second book, which deals with, spoilers, Elphaba's son, who also has green skin. And also the story of Ozma in the second, third books. I think there's opportunities there to sort of mine that material and forge a way forward. I think they have to leave out the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, though, because those characters now, the Wicked version is so different than all the Baum books and all of that with those characters that I think you have to sort of sidestep them. But luckily, I think there's a lot. I just want TikTok on the big screen again. TikTok from Return to Oz. Like, I love that guy. And I think the Lion is kind of already in a good position to be more prominent going forward. So we'll see. We'll see what will happen. I'm very curious. I'm sure we'll get announcements in the next year or less, probably, depending how well this holds up at the box office and the Oscars. But is there anything about Wicked for Good that we haven't talked about that you all wanted to make sure we mentioned?
Yeah, I'll say something. I think a benefit to both these movies, but particularly as far as it goes for kids, like the first one, because obviously I don't think this one is a kid aimed movie at all. But for the first one, when I saw the first one back in 2024, I left it feeling like, I feel like there's gonna be a kid that sees Wicked Part 1 and falls in love with movies. They can maybe be a filmmaker someday. You know, I feel like that's a benefit these both could have. Like, people could see these and be like, oh, how did they build all these sets and get all this stuff out? Like, I think it has a benefit beyond just being great in movies. I think it could get people into filmmaking.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It is sort of an entry point, I think, for a lot of people into this universe, but also movies of this scale. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think that's all I had, guys. I think we did a pretty good job covering Wicked for Good. I want to thank you all for coming on to talk about the new movie. Can you each tell people where they can find you on social media? I'll start with Will.
Yeah, I am on Twitter. I'm not going to call it by whatever name it has now. At the Will of Ash. If you want to follow my thoughts. Yeah, I appreciate everyone being kind with me. I know it's the most negative of the bunch, but
No,
yeah,
you
I mean,
weren't.
yeah.
No, you weren't.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know.
Ashley?
You can find me everywhere, Famous Ashley Grant. Might not be the actual handle, but if you search Famous Ashley Grant, you'll find me on a lot of socials and famousashleygrant.com.
You can find me. I'm on Twitter at Kevin_the Critic. You can find all of my you can find links to my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagrams on my website, kevinthecritic.com, as well as all of my written reviews, including the 2 ones for these Wicked movies. And I'm on Threads at Kevin the Critic as well. Yeah, that's where I am. I have a Blue Sky account, but I barely use it.
All right, there you go. And meanwhile, you can find more episodes like this one, including the first Wicked, The Wizard of Oz, Journey Back to Oz, The Wiz, Return to Oz, and Oz the Great and Powerful, wherever you get your podcasts and on crookedtable.com. If you want to keep up with us on social media, that'll be at Crooked Table on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads. We'll be back next year with more episodes yet to be determined. Probably going to lean on animated films for the next sort of ongoing theme. You can see the poster behind me as K-pop Demon Hunters, which is definitely probably going to be the first one we cover on this feed. So keep an eye out for that. But for now, that's a wrap on another Cricket Table production. Keep watching, everybody.
Bye.